Hello folks, how's it going? So, time to talk about music again. I'm just actually getting going, so hopefully we'll have liftoff on this. But it's time to do an update. Monday, September 21st, 2015. Among the comments on my last video, someone asked me about Kamasi, Washington. That was what I was forgetting to talk about. I don't have the record yet, but I did see Kamasi, Washington live 2 weeks ago here in Omaha on his first tour of his own band. And it was fantastic. It was. Kamasi, Washington is indeed a young man who embodies the true spirit of what music is about. You know, I was going to say jazz, but jazz is music. But it was a joy to not only watch the band and listen to them, but to meet him afterwards. They did play almost 3 hours solid. And several things were evident in watching the show, that the majority of the band members were mates of his since he was a little boy. They were all very tight. There was an organicness and spirituality to the playing. It was very inspiring. They didn't have any vinyl. They said it was coming in October, so they gave me a pre-order card. I do want the vinyl, I didn't want the CD. But I just wanted to respond that yes, Kamasi, Washington is the real deal. And there's an Omaha connection. Terrace Martin, who is a sax player producer who's worked with Kamasi and several other people, including Kendrick Lamar. Terrace Martin is from Omaha. Now, I don't personally know Terrace, but I know his dad, Curly Martin. So Terrace was in town, and he also played with Kamasi. It was a really good time. Okay. Since I last made a video, I received a package of music from a label, Optimo Music. Optimo, a label. I forget who contacted me, but I got a mail from someone associated with the label saying that they wanted to send me some of their stuff, that they thought it would vibe with me, and they are right. Okay. So, show you what they, and talk about what they sent me. I looked it up, and I forget what I found out, but Optimo's been around for a few years, and there's an electronic music connection. They're also distributed by Compact. The first record I'll show you that they sent me 4. I like them all. Peter Zummo. Zummo with an X, and this would come in under maybe modern minimal classical music, perhaps. Arthur Russell, if you know who he is, plays cello on here, and what's interesting is that you can tell it's Arthur Russell, but the sound of his cello playing is very distinct. This is really something, especially side 2, song 4. It's in the area of writers like Terry Riley, Steve Reich, Philip Glass, but it doesn't sound like those guys. It's like, what's the best way to set it up? It's kind of like they set up a movement or notes. It's like they set up this movement that repeats, but it undulates and it layers, and it just does all these neat things. While it appears on the surface to not be changing, it's changing a lot, and it's beautiful. Peter Zummo, I should be able to tell you something about the man, but I can't at the moment. I can't think what it is, his background is, but this is really excellent. Zummo with an X on Optimo Records. Minimalist, I don't want to use experimental. Minimalist composition, excellent. It's really good. Also sent me this album by an artist I don't know, Fedezol and the Boy. Like Cannibal Father, Like Cannibal Son is the name of this album. Now, when I first put this on, my first impression was like, oh no, what is this? But the intro sets you up in a way that what happens next is kind of unexpected. It turns electronic. It starts off almost like quasi-chamber music. Then it becomes electronic. So, interesting. I have to listen to this one again, but another thing, as I was listening to it, came to mind in the BC here, talking about records no one has. The band Tuxedo Moon has come up several times. That's who this band sounds like to me. This is very much like Tuxedo Moon, kind of murky. That's the word I'll use right now. Something definitely to listen to again to see what's really going on here. Intriguing, and my first impression is a good one. Here's a real treat. The last two that they sent me are real treats for my collection. And the first one is Chris Carter, The Space Between. This is Chris Carter, who was in Throbbing Gristle and Chris and Cozy. And it turns out that this is a vinyl release of a cassette that he'd put out way back in the 80s on the Industrial Records label. And it's early synthesizer sequencer stuff. He built a lot of his synthesizers. He really did. So even though you hear a lot of the burbling sequencer sort of things going on here, the timbres and the sounds are unique to Chris Carter. And the cover is intriguing, because it's some sort of funny angle or cut up of, I bet you it's Cozy Fanny Tootie's body. So this is a real joy to add this to the collection. Optimo is the label. Let me see if I can get close enough. There you can see the logo, that little, well, there it is. Optimo. Chris Carter, really cool. Got to meet Chris and Cozy back in was it the 80s, I believe it was. I saw them in concert. They were very, very nice. Very, very nice. And the last thing they sent was this 2-record set called, now that's what I call DIY. Cult Classics from the Post-Punk Era, 1978 to 1982. I really appreciate this. What they've done is they've compiled some of the first UK post-punk records that were influenced by the DIY ethic of punk. You know, that was the big thing about the Sex Pistols and punk and Ramones, is that it became apparent to people suddenly, oh, well, this is pretty simple. Anyone can do it. I can do it. And so people started to do it. And they've... So it's a big neat fold out with the story. And yeah, they've compiled some of the first UK DIY singles that they, you know, I still have a couple of these, I'm glad to say. I used to have several of these, actually, because I was really touched. It touched a nerve. The do-it-yourself thing about making records and punk really struck a nerve in me, which is what led me to making Norman and the Rockwells and then my first 7-inch EPs. Those were totally inspired by DIY. It's like, I can do this. I've always wanted records, so I'm going to do it now. Some of the artists on here: Tesco Bombers, Sarah Goes Pop, The Distributors, Thomas Lear, Visitors, Fatal Microbes. I pulled some that I have. On the sheet here, it shows you some of the covers of the records. And in that top row, People in Control, I still have a copy of this, People in Control. I think it's out of Belgium. When It's War. This is very cool, unique, not straight rock and roll. Another one on here that I still have is the Sarah Goes Pop next to it. Now this is where It's young folks who don't know how to play music, have just decided we're going to play music. And the moxie and the strength of their intent is what carries this record, which is what makes this good to my ears. The folks can barely play, but they're giving it everything they've got. And it just comes through. That power of intent comes through. This is also very handmade, stamped, lithographed or printed, hand printed. So I'm glad I still have this, and I still have one other that's on there. I thought this was a first edition of this Thomas Luther Private Plane, but this is actually a second edition that I have. It came out on an even smaller label at first, but that's also on here. Private Plane. And I used to have the one next to it, Dorothy, I Confess. I used to have that. And the Fatal Microbes, I forgot to grab that. I've got Fatal Microbes too. So, I recommend this to anyone. It's just some great choices that they made to illustrate the spirit of do-it-yourself post-punk revolution. Maybe you could say, Happy to say that I was directly involved in this and influenced by this. This part of music history. When punk happened, I felt it in Omaha, Nebraska, and responded to it. Those are the latest. That's the latest vinyl I have that was sent to me, and just gonna keep it short there. Just want to tell you about those records, and I want to thank Optimo Music for kindly sending me that music. I want to thank everyone else that sent me music. Coming up next month in October, the Record Collector magazine out of UK, they always do a feature on a collector every month in the magazine. Next month, the feature is going to be me. A couple months ago, it was Roger Coleman from the VC. So, looking forward to that. I'll talk to you soon.